Sometimes the most captivating stories, they lie just beneath the surface of the legends we think we know so well.
That's so true.
Today, we're diving deep into exactly that. Forget the lightning-fast moves for just a moment, because we're going to explore the extraordinary lives of the people who really laid the very foundation for the icon. Bruce Lee's parents, Hoi-Chuen and Grace Ho.
It's a side you don't often hear about, but it's crucial.
Right. Their story isn't just family history. It's this sweeping drama. It's got the vibrant world of Cantonese opera, incredible strength when things got tough, and a journey stretching across continents.
Yeah.
We're talking bustling Hong Kong and hopeful San Francisco, early to mid-20th century, a time of huge global change.
It's a truly rich tapestry we're looking at here. When we shift focus to Li Hoi-Chuen and Grace Ho, you really start to understand the profound influences that shaped Bruce Lee.
It's easy just to focus on the son, the legend.
Exactly, but by looking at their distinct paths and how they eventually came together, we uncover this narrative that's both deeply personal and, honestly, surprisingly grand in scope.
Yeah, so our mission today.
Well, our aim is to explore those individual stories, really get a feel for their experiences, and see how they ultimately paved the way for, well, the global phenomenon Bruce Lee became. Get ready for some fascinating details and unexpected turns.
All right, let's set the stage, like the opening act, maybe.
Sure.
Picture early 20th century Hong Kong, a real crossroads of cultures.
Definitely.
Born there in 1901 was Li Hoi-Chuen. Now, he wasn't just anyone. He became a massive star, a true luminary of Cantonese opera.
Yeah, you have to understand how big Cantonese opera was back then. It was a major cultural force.
So think about, I don't know, the biggest musical sensations today, the ones who pack arenas.
Right. That level of fame.
That was Hoi-Chuen, but imagine that with these incredible ornate costumes. Someone called him the Elvis of his era, but maybe with better costumes.
That's not a bad comparison, actually. His rise is fascinating because Cantonese opera wasn't just, entertainment. It was vital storytelling, expressing shared emotions, a link to tradition, especially with society changing so fast.
So his success meant he had real talent.
Oh, absolutely. Exceptional vocal skill, rigorous physical discipline, complex choreography, and this ability to connect deeply with the audience. It was demanding work, constant rehearsals, travel, critics watching every move.
Grueling.
Very. Yet he thrived, became a celebrated icon in Hong Kong and beyond.
And then we hit this key moment, 1939. His opera company gets an engagement in San Francisco's Chinatown.
A huge deal.
You can just picture it, can't you? For the Chinese immigrants there, seeing this huge star from home. It must have been such a powerful connection, a reminder of their culture.
Absolutely. More than just a show. It was a link, a piece of home.
And this trip, as we know, it changes everything for him.
It really does. San Francisco's Chinatown then was its own world, vibrant, a hub of Chinese culture within America. For Hoi-Chuen, it was a new audience, but also connecting with compatriots abroad.
These cultural exchanges were so important back then.
Incredibly. Maintaining identity, community, and yeah, that San Francisco engagement set off a chain reaction with global impact. And you have to remember, the fans adored stars like him. Flowers, definitely. Maybe not underwear like modern rock stars, but real adulation.
Okay, so that's Hoi-Chuen, the opera star. Now, let's switch to Grace Ho. If Hoi-Chuen was this, bright light on stage, Grace was. Yeah, well, she's more mysterious, isn't she?
Definitely more enigmatic. Trying to piece together her background is tricky. It feels like there are missing pieces.
What are the main theories?
Well, there are various accounts. Was she Eurasian, maybe with a German father? Was she the daughter of the very prominent Ho Kum Tong and an English woman? Or maybe 3/4 Chinese, 1/4 British? It's quite the puzzle.
That ambiguity itself says something, right? About identity, society back then, especially in colonial Hong Kong or cosmopolitan Shanghai where she grew up.
It really does. Her mixed heritage probably came with both advantages and challenges. The fact there are so many stories might suggest it was complex or maybe, deliberately kept private.
What do we know for sure?
We know she grew up in sophisticated international Shanghai, and her family's connection to the Ho-Tung clan, that's significant.
Ah, the Ho-Tungs. Someone called them the Kardashians of colonial Hong Kong, but with actual influence.
Huh. That's pretty good, actually. They were incredibly powerful business, politics, society. And there were rumors Grace was adopted, possibly by Ho Kum Tong himself, who also had a diverse background. It just adds another layer of intrigue.
So you have this sophisticated woman from Shanghai,
Yeah.
possibly linked to this Powerhouse family, and somehow her path crosses with Li Hoi-Chuen, the opera star.
Yeah, how did they meet? Late 1930s. Maybe she saw him perform. Maybe through social circles. We can only speculate.
But they marry. And she moves from Shanghai to Hong Kong. It's clear she wasn't just, the wife of a star. She seems to have had this real inner strength.
Oh, absolutely. Resilience. Qualities that would be vital later on. Her somewhat mysterious past might have even contributed to that fortitude, that adaptability.
Managing life with a famous traveling husband, raising kids, that takes resilience.
Definitely. And we see glimpses of a protective nature, especially later with Bruce. It's almost like the mystery around her origins highlights her determination to define herself, not just be defined by others.
Okay, fast forward to 1940, another trip across the Pacific. Hoi-Chuen and Grace are in San Francisco again for the opera tour, but this time, Grace is pregnant.
Right. On November 27th, 1940, in San Francisco's Chinatown, at Jackson Street Hospital, Bruce Lee is born. His Chinese name was Li Junfan.
And the name Bruce?
Apparently a nurse suggested it, just a small detail, but that's the name the world would come to know.
The timing, too, is interesting. Chinese astrology.
Yes, born in the year of the dragon, and also the hour of the dragon. That's considered incredibly auspicious. A double dose of dragon power, you could say. It adds to the mystique.
And Bruce wasn't their first child, right?
No, not at all. They already had Phoebe, Agnes, and Peter. Robert came later. Imagine touring internationally with a growing family, the demands of Hoi-Chun's career, a new baby in a foreign country.
Wow. And being born in SF meant Bruce got U.S. citizenship.
Hugely significant. That would become critical later. But it's 1940s America. World War II is looming. There's anti-Asian sentiment.
But Chinatown itself was vibrant.
Yes, a strong, resilient community. So Bruce is born into this mix American citizen, yet deeply Chinese from the very start.
That duality seems key.
Absolutely. It shaped his whole philosophy. The U.S. citizenship gave opportunities, but his Hong Kong upbringing gave him his cultural core, his martial arts foundation, his worldview, exposed to both from day one.
Then, April 1941, Bruce is just 3 months old, and they go back to Hong Kong.
Incredible timing, again, because just months later, that December.
The Japanese invasion. Life changes completely.
Radically. We're talking grim realities. Severe food shortages, strict curfews, constant fear. Hoi-Chun's opera career must have taken a massive hit.
How'd they manage?
Well, this is likely where Grace's family connections, the Ho-Tungs, became crucial. Their wealth, their influence. It could have provided a vital lifeline, access to resources, maybe some protection. Personal networks were everything then.
But the entertainment connection didn't completely stop, did it? Hoi-Chuen was already doing some film work.
Right. And get this baby Bruce, at just 3 months old, makes his film debut.
No way.
Yes, in a movie called Golden Gate Girl. It was actually shot back in San Francisco, directed by a pioneering woman, Esther Ng. Hoi-Chuen had a role, and apparently it was Grace who got Bruce the part.
Wow. Talk about starting early in show business.
Quite extraordinary. It really shows how deep the performing arts ran in the family. And Grace facilitating it, that's interesting too. Maybe planting a tiny seed?
So let's think about how these two very different parents shaped young Bruce. Hoi-Chuen, the performer. Growing up around film sets, that must have sunk in somehow.
Definitely. Exposure to storytelling, performance, the spotlight, even subconsciously.
And Hoi-Chuen was his first martial arts teacher, in a way.
Yeah, in a basic sense. Taught him some fundamentals, maybe just to keep a high-energy kid occupied. This was before his formal Wing Chun training with Yip Man, which started when he was about 13.
Is there a link between Hoi-Chuen's opera background and Bruce's fighting style? People talk about the theatricality.
It's a fascinating thought. Cantonese opera has drama, fluid movements, expressing emotion physically. You can see echoes in Bruce's dynamic style, his screen presence. Hoi-Chuen wasn't a traditional martial artist like Yip Man, but he knew how to command attention through movement. That surely influenced Bruce.
So Hoi-Chuen was away a lot, right?
Yep.
Touring.
Yes, very often. Being a top opera star meant travel, so the day-to-day raising of the 5 kids, that really fell to Grace.
She was the constant, managing the house, dealing with Bruce's rebellious teenage years later on.
Exactly. But even with Hoi-Chuen being away, his ambition, his work ethic, seeing his father succeed at such a high level, that must have made a huge impression on Bruce,
Yeah.
witnessing that dedication.
So even if he wasn't always physically present, His success was a model.
A very tangible model of dedication and achievement. Bruce saw the hard work, the discipline needed to reach the top. Grace was the primary caregiver, no doubt, but Hoi-Chun's influence shaped Bruce's ambition, that drive for excellence.
Okay, let's focus on Grace. She really does seem like the unsung hero, the backbone.
Absolutely. That term fits perfectly.
Her Eurasian heritage, maybe making her a bit different in Hong Kong society, perhaps that gave her strength.
It seems likely she managed a big household, handled Bruce's teenage issues, and then made that huge, life-changing decision in 1959.
Sending Bruce to the U.S., he was 18, just $100.
Just $100. It wasn't just about managing a difficult teen, it was an act of faith, giving him a chance to thrive beyond Hong Kong. He went to San Francisco first, then ended up in Seattle.
And that decision, you can draw a direct line to his future, right? Jeet Kune Do, Hollywood.
Oh, completely transformative. It showed amazing foresight from Grace. Sending him to America gave him a fresh start, different influences, the freedom to develop his revolutionary ideas. It's hard to imagine Bruce Lee becoming Bruce Lee without that decision.
Do you think her own multicultural background helped Bruce bridge East and West so effectively?
I think it must have played a significant role. Bruce had this unique ability to blend Eastern discipline with Western ambition to challenge stereotypes. His mother navigating different cultural worlds likely fostered that openness in him.
He wasn't afraid to mix things up.
Precisely. Grace's background probably gave him a broader worldview, an understanding that you can integrate diverse ideas. Synthesizing Eastern philosophy with Western dynamism, that was Bruce. And his mother likely nurtured that spirit of integration and innovation.
Moving into the 1960s, Hoi-Chun's opera career started winding down.
Yeah, it gradually declined, though he kept acting in films. But his health wasn't great.
And then he passed away in 1965.
Yes, at 64. It was actually shortly after Bruce's son, Brandon, was born. A huge loss for the family, especially Bruce, who was just really starting to break through.
Losing a parent, especially at that moment, must have been tough.
Profoundly significant. It marked the end of an era for the family and surely impacted Bruce's perspective on life, legacy, mortality, even as he pushed forward.
Grace, though, lived much longer. She saw Bruce become this global superstar.
She did, which makes the next part even more tragic.
1973. Bruce's sudden death at just 32.
Unimaginable. Cerebral edema, an allergic reaction to a painkiller. For Grace, having already lost her husband, to then lose her famous son, utterly devastating.
And she chose to bury him in Seattle.
Yes, near Hoi-Chuen, reuniting them. Her resilience throughout her life is just remarkable. She kept supporting her other children, protecting Bruce's legacy until she passed away in 1996.
It's a story with such highs and lows, joy and immense sorrow.
A powerful reminder of life's unpredictability.
So when we look back at Hoi-Chuen and Grace, they're really the architects of Bruce Lee's world, aren't they?
That's a great way to put it. Architects. Hoi-Chuen gave him the stage presence, the charisma, that performance spark.
And Grace gave him the resilience, the vision, that crucial push towards America.
Exactly. His early exposure to performance and discipline from Hoi-Chuen, combined with Grace's strength and her pivotal decisions, that combination laid the foundation.
We should also remember the siblings, Peter, Robert, Phoebe, Agnes. They carried parts of that legacy too.
Absolutely. The whole family story shows how even the most extraordinary people have deep roots in those who came before.
And Bruce's global impact, transcending cultures, still inspiring people. It really does trace back to his parents' dreams and actions.
It truly does. So next time you watch Enter the Dragon, or any of his films,
Yeah.
maybe give a little nod to Hoi-Chuen and Grace. They didn't just raise a son, they helped unleash a cultural force.
Beyond just Bruce Lee's parents, their story is powerful on its own, isn't it? Resilience, reinvention, crossing cultures.
It really is. In a world that often focuses on division, their lives show the strength in embracing diversity, forging your own path.
It's kind of a wake-up call, too. That our choices, our actions, they can have ripples we never expect.
Totally. Hoi-Chuen, the opera star. Grace, with her complex past. They were just living their life, their truth. They couldn't have known they were setting the stage for a global icon.
So the message is, live authentically. Pursue your path.
Exactly. With courage, conviction, you never know the impact your journey might have.
On that note,
Yeah.
maybe learning a basic roundhouse kick isn't such a bad idea after all. Just, in case.
You never know when you might need to unleash your inner dragon.